to William IAS. Today we are going to deal with the editorial discussion and the news analysis of dated July 7, 2022. From the article, we have taken three topics here, that is the India-European Union global dynamics and the words from Baghdad to relive in Bali and Delhi, and the last one is the hate crime punishment. So first one is the hate crime punishment, which is relevant in GS paper 2 under the Constitution and the Judiciary. So in news, there needs to be zero tolerance for the violence over hurt sentiments because of the hate speech. Means the India's laws on freedom of expression are clear about the reasonableness of the right to exercise it. So we have the freedom of expression and also which is clear about the reasonableness of the right to exercise it. The hate speech, which is directed at communities and intended to fan communal hatred, is not clearly defined in the law. And also the India's laws on freedom of expressions are very clear about the reasonableness of the right to exercise it. There are provisions in the law, means it can be interpreted as allowing for criminalizing offences that are related to hate speech. In particular, those that are likely to incite violence. So, if anyone is committing a violence, through criminalizing offences are there. Means there are provisions in the law that can be interpreted as allowing for criminalizing offences that are related to hate speech, in particular those that are likely to incite violences. And also there have been rightful demands majorly from the Law Commission of India in order to add some specific provisions in the Indian Penal Code to tackle the hate speech, because we know that from the online media platforms and also the messaging where the hate speeches incidents are very much, and also they are leading to lots of issues in our community, mainly in ways of the religion and also casteism. Lots of issues are there because of the hate speech. So the rightful demands are there, including from the Law Commissions of India. It is to add specific provisions in the Indian Penal Code to tackle the hate speech. That there is no justifications for any form of hate speech to be countered with violence. An incident in Amaravati, Maharashtra, where a chemist, his name Umesh Kole, was knifed to death allegedly by three men in relation to for his sharing a post in support of the former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma's comment on the Prophet. So this is about the religious aspect. So this type of issues leads to the lots of incidents in our India. So we have to tackle all these things in order to maintain the peace in our country. And also similar incident have also happened in Udaipur a week ago. So in both these aspects, it is mainly related to the violence as a counter to what they perceived as an insult to their religion. Even insulted their religion, the people who believed in the religion, they are just acted violently in order to counter to what they perceived as an insult to their religion. The two cases are being probed by the National Investigation Agency in order to give them strict punishment for their crimes. It is the responsibility of the union and the state governments to quickly reassure the citizens on the need for communal amenity that purviews the of hate speech, and those indulging in violence in relation will be prosecuted. Justice and the application of the rule of law means the justice and application of rule of law will be applied in a fair manner and without prejudice for or against specific communities. And also the union and state government should not adopt repressive measures, means by using the enforcement authorities to inflict collective punishment on the communities for the individual acts or transgression. Government takes the measures, means if the government is implementing the collective punishment on the communities for a mislead by the individual or any individual, then it will leads to the further complications. So union and the state government should not adopt the repressive measures means repressive measures like the collective punishments on the communities. Political parties who are in power must refrain from fanning the communal hatred. So this will cause to the instability in our country and leads to more violence. And also the unevenness of government actions has resulted in disenchantment among the Muslims. The actions of a few criminals among the community have endangered the others. So if one person is doing the mistake, it will adversely affecting the other people and also the people in the same community, and it will may lead to the further complications in the community as well as the society. So in order to tackle this, the political parties must refrain from fanning communal hatred like the profit issues. So we have to be stay away from like these type of issues. And also it is unmistakable that the developing quagmire is related to the casual bigotry and the callousness of those who were in responsible positions in the BJP. And also the government must reorient themselves to the rule of law and to strict adherence to the constitutional values, as the secular fabric of country must be preserved at all cost. So in order to preserve the secular characteristic of our country, we know that India is a democratic social republic as well as the secular country. So in order to keep our constitutional values, the government must follow the government must reorient themselves to the rule of law. Otherwise it will affect our stability and also leads to lots of conflicts in India between between the ethnic groups and also the different communities. So it will all affect our constitutional values, and also it will affect the secular nature of India. So the rule of law means it is the law applied equally to all citizens of the country, means it is the equality, means the equally to all citizens of the country, and no one can be above the law. And also any crime or violation of the law has a specific punishment as well as a process through which the guilt of the person has to be established. So this is the aspect of rule of law. Into rule of law, no person shall be subject to harsh, uncivilized or discriminatory treatment even for the sake of maintaining law and order. So there are some significance of the rule of law. So the rule of law is a system where laws rule and not men. So here the important aspect is the laws, and it is above the men. And the following points are the significant rules of law. The first one is it reverses the tyranny or anarchy, and also it put legal barriers to governmental arbitrariness. It provides safeguard for the protection of individuals. It gives the freedom to the judiciary to control the executive who exceeds their jurisdiction, means like the judicial review, where the judiciary can review the actions of the executive as well as the legislation. And the public welfare should be the dominant considerations. These are the main aspects of the significance of rule of law. And coming to the second article, India-European Union Global Dynamics, which is relevant in GS Paper 2, International Relations. That is the bilateral, regional and the global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interests. The recent progress in alliance opens up prospects of a customized partnership and the mutual growth. It is in order to achieve the sustainable world, we have to follow the carbon neutrality. So there are certain countries who hosted about this, that is the Norway, Sweden, United Kingdom, France, Spain, Japan, Germany, Canada, Costa Rica, United States, Brazil, India and the China. So they have set themselves that the net zero targets for the middle and later part of the century. So the main aim is the net zero targets, and also they are focusing on the carbon neutrality in order to achieve the sustainable world. So at the forefront of the commitment to net zero is the European Union, which wants to be the first carbon neutral region. So by 2050, the European Union wants to achieve the net zero. European Union Green Deal in July last year, it is to focus on a new growth strategy. It mainly aims to transform the European Union society into a fair and wealthy one with a modern, resource efficient and a competitive economy. So here the modern, resource efficient and the competitive economy means the sustainable growth or the sustainable development. So in the last year, in July in last year, the European Union Green Deal was brought, and also it mainly aims to transform the European Union society into a fair and wealthy one with a modern, resource efficient and the competitive economy. Carbon pricing system. Here the carbon pricing system is it is to attain the carbon neutrality. it is to attain the carbon neutrality, and also the European Union set the fourth immediate targets and has brought out the Fit for 55 package. So Fit for 55 package is related to the carbon pricing system, and it is a communication of its 2030 climate target. So provision in the policy plan is the introduction of carbon border adjustment mechanism, that is a CBAM. So CBAM is a carbon pricing system which is proposed for the imports into European Union. CBAM suggests that taxing the imported goods based differences between the carbons used in the production of domestic and the imported goods. So here the taxing is mainly on the imported goods, and also taxing is based on the differences between the carbon. So this is the important aspect, that the differences between the carbon which is used in the production of domestic and the imported goods. So based on this the taxing is applied. January 1st 2023 is the transition phase of the CBAM, and also the importers will only have to report emissions embedded in the production of goods. So the importers have to report about the emissions embedded in the production of goods and are not obliged to pay a financial penalty. They just have to report about the emissions embedded in the production of goods, and also the CBAM, it is a complementary to the European Union emission trading scheme. And from January 1st 2026, the CBM will completely into force, and also its measure will see a gradual reduction for the free EU ETS allowance, means the coverage of 10 percentage points per year, and a complete phase out by 2035. Initial phase, there are 5 side sectors, means the iron and steel, aluminium, cement, fertilizers, and the electricity. So these will be taxed under the CBAM. So site means the carbon intensive and trade exposed. So these are the site sectors. The important 5 site sectors are the iron and steel, aluminium, cement, fertilizers, and the electricity, which will be taxed under the CBAM. So this is an important aspect in prelims. So we have to remember this. The claims by the European Union about the CBAM is it is to reduce the carbon leakage and also create a level play field for the European Union producers and encourage the producers in other countries to adopt the cleaner technology. So the main aspect is the reduce the carbon leakage and also to adopt the cleaner technologies. Also, several discussions are going about the CBAM. So the developing countries have raised their concerns about the legality of the CBAM. So there are some points that its conflict with the World Trade Organization and also the UNFCCC. UNFCCC means the United Nations Framework Conventions on the Climate Change Norms, and they are afraid that it will encourage the protectionism. Means several lots of instances already have previously, means the conflict between the domestic restrictive policies stating the environmental concern and the trade openness, such as the shrimp turtle case, and also the Air Transport Association of America versus Energy Secretary case. And so these are the major concerns in the developing countries about the CBAM. And also this ruling in these cases have been in favor of environmental laws, that proving that the ongoing debate is a continuation of pre-existing issues, and in the past environment concerns have outweighed those related to trade. The developing countries flagged the use of revenue collected from the CBAM, and also European Union said that the revenue that collected from the CBAM will be the part of European Union's budget as well as the Next Generation UE. Next Generation UE, it is an initiative which is launched to provide economic support to the European Union member countries. Means they are impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So to those countries who are impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, the economic support will be given by the European Union. And also they are the European Union member countries. Countries opposing the proposed revenue utilization mechanism suggests that if CBAM is not to be implemented, then the revenue collected from it should be used for cleaner technology adoption in developing countries. Means the European Union is planning to take all the revenue collected from the CBAM to the European Union's budget and also the next generation EU. So the countries opposing the proposed revenue utilizations, they suggest that it have to be used for the cleaner technology adoptions and also in the developing countries. So coming to the India and the European Union relationship, means the India and the European Union share a healthy trade relationship, and also the third largest trading partner of India is the European Union, and the India is European Union's 11th largest trading partner. In 2019-20, India-European Union trade accounted for about 11.1% of total Indian trade in goods. And also the India exports almost 40% of its global exports to the European Union. And the progressive steps. Recently, there has been increasing initiative from both the sides to deepen engagement with each other, that is between the India and European Union. And talks on India-European Union free trade agreement already have taken place. That were stalled a while ago have picked up again and are scheduled to take place in June. The target to finalize that free trade agreement has been set for 2023 to 24. This change is the commitment where both India and European Union is focusing, and also the recent progress are there in India-European Union alliances, which is opens prospects of a customized partnership and also the mutual growth. As we know, there is a tax is proposed based on the CBAM. So rather than focusing on this tax, India and European Union can together or they can cooperate better by investing in the cleaner and greener technologies in India and also helping in the cleaner production in India. This will enhance their agendas of economic growth and sustainability fulfilled and win-to-win situation for the both entities. So coming to the next article, words from Bandung to relive in Bali and Delhi. This is relevant in GS paper 2, international relationship. So with the Ukraine war shaping the future world order, it is time India brings a balanced outlook to its strategic policy. As we know, ongoing Ukraine and Russian issues are there, and the whole world is waiting for the India's decisions about the strategic policy. So their back-to-back summits in the past fortnight have helped settle the dust on who stands where on Russia invasions of Ukraine. So there is three summits were underwent, and it was mainly focusing on the stance, means the who stands where on the Russian invasions of the Ukraine, which conducted are BRICS in June 23-24. It is followed by the G7 summits on June 26 and 27. Then the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that is the NATO summit in Madrid, June 29. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the BRICS summit virtually and then traveled to Germany for the G7 outreach, and between the 7 most industrialist nations. So the G7 outreach is between the 7 most industrialized nations, and also this time special invitees are the Argentina, Indonesia, India, Senegal and the South Africa. So these are the special invitees who participated this year in the G7. And India was not a part of the NATO summit, and also which included an outreach to the United States Indo-Pacific Treaty allies, which is the Japan, South Korea, Australia and the New Zealand. So in order to understand about the future global world order, it is necessary to study the messages which have been sent out by each of these groupings against the backdrop of the situation in Ukraine. Most importantly, how can India, that has hitherto managed a careful balancing act between the all groupings, build a movement out of this moment of depolarization of the world? So we know that the all things are pointing to a future polarization of the world, and also here this is the key point that how India will respond or how India will manage these polarizations of the world. And the Narendra Modi government have committed a singular strategy and also the defensive one, and they does not condone the Russia for its attack on Ukraine, but not that does not criticize either. So they are just placing a defensive as well as the singular strategy that India taken. India joined the China as the global economies that have most increased the intake of Russian oil, and also they continue to source fertilizer, cement and other commodities from Russia and by paying Chinese yuan in order to circumvent the sanctions. And India is working to diversify its defense purchases from India. We know that the almost defense purchases or the import is mainly from the Russia, and also the hostilities with China are high in this case, and a strategic tilt towards the US and Quad partners in the Indo-Pacific is growing. And also India is remaining a balancing voice with Brazil and South Africa in the multilateral stage too. It is the time for our Indian government in order to stop or seize the movement for the leadership in a world that it is becoming increasingly uncomfortable with the growing polarization. So if polarization is increasing, then it will affect the imports, exports and also the development aspects, lots of bilateral or the regional treaties, and also it will leads to the new world order. So in order to control or tackle this, that it is the time for the New Delhi to seize the movement for leadership in a world. And so in order to tackle these all issues or the polarization of the world, the India have to do something like that to gather the like-minded. So its General Assembly, majority of 141 countries voted to castigate Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. So majority of 141 casted the vote, and also only 93 voted to oust Russia from the Human Rights Council. And even more significantly, only 40 countries joined the US and Europe-led sanctions regime against Russia. So this represents a large pool of independently minded countries. So India's national interest would be better served by building a community of those like-minded countries instead of abstaining on every vote or about the defensive sanctions. So India can create or India can serve by building a community of those like-minded countries such as South America to Africa, Gulf to South Asia and to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So who cannot afford the hostilities, and also they want to avoid the possibility of global war at all costs. A similar example is there in 1955 where the India took leadership of a conference that eventually led to the non-aligned movement, that is the NAM, that is along with countries such as Indonesia and Egypt and the Asian African Conference of 29 newly independent nations at the Bandung. That time our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru asked that if all the world were to be divided up between these two big blocks, then what would be the result? So the result will be the future war, and also every step that take place in reducing that area in the world which we call the unaligned area is a dangerous step and leads to war. And also our current government is shown little interest in NAM or even in Nehruvian thought. So it may be necessary to reconsider the Nehru's words in a world fraught with danger nearly 17 years later. So this is the time to rethink India's role in growing the unaligned area and bringing the objective and balanced outlook Nehru spoke of to the front of India's strategic policy by channeling that thought from Bandung to Bali and Delhi this year. So this is the time to rethink the India's role in growing the unaligned area and bringing the objective and balanced. So this is the end of today's discussion. I hope you all got it, and thank you.